My name is Tom Wade. I was chairman of the Rensselaer County Democratic Committee for 12 years. That span included the visit by President Barack Obama in 2009 to Hudson Valley Community College. And you're listening to Troy Story, a podcast for the Color City.
Hello and welcome back to Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, where we explore the history and people of Troy, New York, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, John Salka, and this is Chapter 9. With the 2024 presidential election nearly here, we thought we'd dive into a more recent era in presidential history. On September 21st, 2009, the city of Troy welcomed President Barack Obama for an official visit to Hudson Valley Community College. On the 15th anniversary of this event, we're taking a look back at President Obama's first of 3 visits to the Capital Region during his 2 terms in the White House. I reached out to Tom Wade, alumni of Hudson Valley Community College, class of 1968, and the then chair of the Rensselaer County Democratic Committee, one of the few lucky people to receive an invite to attend the president's speech in Troy, to get his memories of the day. When I first started planning what would eventually become this podcast, the president's visit to Troy was one of the first things I put on our proposed episode list. I've been working on this one for a few months, so I'm very excited to finally share, including my own experience, as I was there that day when the president visited our small corner of America. If you look really closely at the photos, you might even see me in the background. If you enjoy the episode, please take a minute to subscribe and leave a review to help get our podcast into new ears. This October, we reached 3,000 downloads since launching the show in January 2024, and that's a direct result of our listeners who've come along for this ride with us. If you're a new listener, don't forget that you can hear our full episode archive at troystorypod.com and everywhere podcasts are available. All right, let's get to it. Without further delay, here's our conversation with Tom Wade. Tom, first off, thank you so much for doing this. I think this is really great to be able to go back and revisit President Obama's visit to Hudson Valley Community College in the city of Troy. This was September of 2009, which seems a lifetime ago. It was only 15 years ago. And when I was making my list of people I wanted to talk to about it, I had a pretty good feeling that you were in the room, and I reached out to you. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you for inviting me. I was in the room. I was invited. Tickets were scarce. I was inundated with requests for a ticket to just see him. And he was new. He was only in office like 6, 7 months, 8 months, something like that. First year president. He was a very, very consequential president. And he's very impressive. I mean, just very impressive. He's cool. He's just a cool guy, and everybody wanted to meet him.
Communities like this one were once the heart of America's manufacturing strength. But over the last few decades, you've borne the brunt of a changing economy which has seen manufacturing plants close in the face of global competition. So while all of America has been gripped by the current economic crisis, folks in Troy and upstate New York have been dealing with what amounts to almost a permanent recession for years, an economic downturn that's driven more and more young people from their hometowns. I also know that while a lot of people have come here promising better news, that news has been hard to come by, despite the determined efforts of leaders who are here today and many who are not. And part of the reason is that while people in this city work hard to meet their responsibilities, I have to confess that some in Washington haven't always lived up to theirs.
As Democratic Party county chairman, I had a lot of requests coming my way to get a pass to get into the seating. The seating was limited. I think initially they gave me 2 tickets to get in, and I gave one of them to the recently retired longtime Congressman, Mike McNulty. So that they had not even given one to him, and he had just gotten out of office the previous year. Many party faithful members, friends, etc. I had all kinds of calls, days and nights, to get tickets, and the tickets were not easy to get. So A lot of people were disappointed, but that's the way it goes. Obama was just a very, very popular guy, and he was new. He was in the infancy of his presidency, and people were eager to see him. Let me tell you an interesting anecdote that happened prior to the president's visit. A few nights before he was scheduled to be here, I was driving out I live in Troy, and I was driving out to the town of Sand Lake to speak to the town of Sand Lake Democratic Committee. And as I'm driving out, I received my cell phone, received a call, and the name of the caller that popped up was the White House. I said, well, I got to take this call, whatever this may be. So I pick up the phone, and I'm on the phone, and I drive by a sitting state police car on the other side of the road. And I'm sure he could see me on the phone. I didn't pretend not to be on the phone. So he puts his lights on and he starts chasing me. So I pull over and I finished the call with the White House. It was about the president's coming arrival. And the trooper said to me, do you know what I pulled you over for? I said, yes, I do. And I said, would you believe I got a call from the White House? He said, no, I wouldn't believe that. I said, well, that's why I stayed on the phone. So he wrote up a ticket for me for driving while talking on the phone. I went to my appointed destination that night, finished it, and appeared in town court later on the charge of the ticket. Don't know if you'd call it a moving violation, but it was against the law. But anyway, that was I wasn't about to turn down the call from whomever it may have been. I think it ended up being one of his advanced people. It wasn't a high-ranking White House official. That ended my my brief experience with law enforcement over the president's official visit.
Do you remember when you sort of first heard that the president was going to be coming?
I don't remember exactly how much leeway there was between. I'd say it was about 2 weeks, certainly not more than 2 weeks.
I remember it being very compressed, and we talked about this just before we jumped on this call. I was there as well as a volunteer for the White House. That was through a friend of mine who I was involved with the local Young Democrats chapter. It happened all very quickly. We got a phone call. It was like, hey, you may be able to volunteer, and this is going to be something that you're going to be able to, be in the room for as a White House volunteer. And I do remember it being like very compressed. It wasn't very long from the time that we learned he was going to come to the point of like that morning. Do you remember the day of, what that was like? Obviously waking up in the morning. I don't know what time you had to get there. Was it something that you had to get there several hours early for?
I arranged to have someone drive me there because the parking was going to be it's a difficult situation on a normal day at Hudson Valley Community College. So you can only imagine with all the media vehicles and so on. I just didn't want to waste time trying to park and then trying to get to the venue. So
there was definitely a big emphasis on community colleges. That's why he was there. And actually, that was why Jill Biden was there, now First Lady. Then she was obviously, I guess, Second Lady.
Second Lady.
And she was speaking, introducing the president as a community college teacher, professor.
Correct.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. I'm Jill Biden, and I'm honored to be a community college professor. I've been an English teacher for almost 30 years, and I've spent much of my career on campuses just like this one. In fact, tomorrow I will be back in my classroom at a community college not too far from the White House. So I feel right at home here at Hudson Valley Community College.
It's kind of interesting to see her introduce him in her place and in her job and her role as a college professor, a teacher, an educator.
I'm proud to be here as a community college instructor, but I am especially proud to introduce a president who not only recognizes the value of higher education, but is committed to making it a reality for more Americans. Please welcome President Barack Obama.
you. Thank you. Hello, Hudson Valley. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you very much. What a wonderful reception. It is great to be here. Thanks for whoever organized the weather. I want to first of all say thank you to Jill Biden, who has been a teacher for almost 3 decades, and she spent most of that time in community colleges. She understands, as all of you do, the power of these institutions to prepare students for 21st century jobs and to prepare America for a 21st century global economy. And that's what's happening right here at Hudson Valley Community College. So give yourselves a big round of applause.
His visit was tied into his mission at that time, early in his presidency. He wanted to expand the work being done by community colleges to bring more people working in the trades. And that was part of his speech also.
Now, you may ask, why are we here at Hudson Valley? We're here because this is a place where anyone with the desire to take their career to a new level or start a new career altogether has the opportunity to pursue that dream. This is a place where people of all ages and backgrounds, even in the face of obstacles, even in the face of very difficult personal challenges, can take a chance on a brighter future for themselves and for their family.
I'm an alumnus of Hudson Valley Community College, so of course it was great to see him.
What year did you graduate Hudson Valley?
68.
Wow, 68. So at the time of Obama's visit to Hudson Valley, you were, as you said, the chair of the Rensselaer County Democratic Committee.
Yes.
What got you involved? Were you involved in politics way back in college, Democratic politics?
Well, there wasn't much of that back then. There was some, not a lot, but some Vietnam War protesting in those years, but not a lot of it here, like there were on big campuses like Berkeley, for example. After Hudson Valley, I was in the Army for a while. And when I came out, I attended what was then known as SUNY Albany, now called U Albany. And there were big protests there. That was really, that was a tough time to be there as a veteran.
First time listener to the show? It's okay. We won't tell. Don't forget to check out past episodes of Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere podcasts are available. You can also explore our full archive at troystorypod.com.
He was true to his mission. He really wanted to do well with technology jobs and start them at the community college level so people could boom into the technology sector.
So as we emerge from this current economic crisis, our great challenge will be to ensure that we don't just drift into the future, accepting less for our children, accepting less for America. We have to choose instead what past generations have done, to shape a brighter future through hard work and innovation. That's how we'll not only recover, but that's how we'll also build stronger than before. Strong enough to compete in the global economy, strong enough to avoid the cycles of boom and bust that have wreaked so much havoc, strong enough to create and support the jobs of the future in the industries of the future. So today, my administration is releasing our strategy to foster new jobs, new businesses, and new industries by laying the groundwork and the ground rules to best tap our innovative potential.
The iPhone debuted in 2007, and the president's visit to Hudson Valley was September of 2009. But obviously, in 2024, we're recording this now. Cell phones and specifically the cameras on cell phones, they're ubiquitous. Everybody's got a phone, a video camera, a microphone, whatever, in their pocket 24/7. But if you look back at a lot of the photos of the event, there are so many people with digital cameras taking pictures, like actual physical cameras holding it up to their face and like snapping a picture. Do you remember anything like that when you think back on the event, sort of the era of the time?
My best recollection of the filming of it was from a reporter who I think at the time was with the Times-Union. He's a local guy. His name is Jimmy Vielkind. He is now with the Wall Street Journal. At the time, he filmed the whole episode. He sent it to me, but I couldn't find it prior to our conversation. Narrating too, mentioning the celebrities and the other people in the audience as he would film, and pan the crowd. He was quite good. He's a talented guy. I don't remember other people filming with their phones. I don't have any recollection of that. Yes, there were cameras and there were flash bulbs popping, but I don't remember any phone filming.
Do you remember anything else about the room, about the environment, conversations you had with people there before the event or after the event? Or is there anything specific that jumps out at you?
Oh, sure. There were people, who they were honored to be there. And I remember Jim Walsh was the Republican county chairman at the time, and he was invited as a member of the college's board of trustees. And I've known Jim for years and years, the late Jim Walsh. He and I talked, we stood there talking a lot, and Vielkind thought that was quite cute for him to film the two of us talking at an event like this. But Jim was a good American and a good person, and he was very flattered to be there. It's not a political event; it's the president of the United States that we're here to see. Secondly, the building was in one of their technology buildings. I won't say a garage, but it's a big building. There was machinery in there, and I don't know if it was for automotive technology or electronic technology, something, but it was in one of those buildings they used as the setting for the president's visit because that was the main topic he was there to discuss. It was not luxury seating or anything like that. It was folding chairs and, low budget.
I think you're right. I think it was the automotive garage was where the event was. I do remember it being much more Spartan.
Yes, good word.
It had the classic, at the time, White House style event, stage in the middle, chairs around the outside, sort of the dignitaries in one area. They had, usually some sort of relevant group that they wanted to spotlight. I think they had a large group of Hudson Valley Community College students and maybe some faculty.
They did.
Off to the left, there was like a big banner.
The ingredients are right here for growth and success and a better future. These young people are testimony to it. You are proving that.
And then everybody else was sort of in the folding chairs, I guess, in the middle. If we were thinking of it sort of as a horseshoe and the podium in the middle, and that was where everybody was sitting. Do you remember where you were sitting? Were you in the middle? Were you off to the side? Were you far back?
I think I was in the middle, along with other people like the members of the board of trustees of the college. I know that they had a contingent of students there, and that was intentional, and that they must have done a lottery drawing for that. I mean, at the end, they had more tickets to give out than they had anticipated. So someone on the advance team called the college and said, we got an extra, 20 tickets or 15 tickets or something. What do you want to do with them? So the college gave them to faculty members or employees of the college. Looking back, and again, he was in his infancy as president. They should have given them to me as the county Democratic Party chairman, because I had about 200 people who were looking. They would give away their firstborn to get a ticket there.
Sure.
But instead, I didn't get the opportunity to do that.
Do you remember other folks who were there? There's a lot of photos, so I know a lot of the dignitaries, but were there other folks other than the Rensselaer County Republican chairman in that world, or even just regular folks that you sort of knew, whether they were on the board or otherwise?
Well, regular folks, yes. Charlene Keels, who's very active in the NAACP. She was inside. She got to meet the president. And I'll tell you how, when she walked out with the president, I said, how'd you arrange that? Someone at Samaritan Hospital, where Charlene worked for her entire career, was a friend or a college roommate or something of David Axelrod, the president's
oh, wow,
guru. And this person at Samaritan called David Axelrod to get a couple of people tickets, like Charlene, and she got in. She got in to see him. She was quite a fan of Obama, of course. Neil Breslin, newly elected congressman to fill an open seat, Scott Murphy, Paul Tonko, who filled Mike McNulty's seat just the prior election. Ron Canestrari was there. It's hard to remember any others other than the electeds who normally get. Lou Rosamilia was on the county legislature, and I think he wasn't mayor yet.
No, I think Harry was still mayor.
Yeah, Harry was still the mayor. I think I sat near Harry.
I was just talking to the mayor of Troy, who was talking. We were in a room, and he was saying how he had studied calculus in the room where we were taking a picture. And I had to inform him I didn't take calculus. But he was testimony. He was an example of what you can do because of an institution like this. And I know that here in Troy, you want and need that chance after so many years of hard times.
I think I'm going through the list of other people that I know. Maurice Hinchey was there. Congressman Hinchey was there.
Yes, Congressman Hinchey.
Senator Roy McDonald was there.
Roy and I were in Hudson Valley together. We were frat brothers at Hudson Valley.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, we go back a long time.
You got any interesting stories from back then?
One that I'm sure if he remembered it, he'd deny it today, but he remembered back then. There was a talk about starting a Young Democrats club at the college. He said, why don't we do that? And then we'll go to the Young Republicans and see what they have, which one has a better party to offer. Party in terms of partying, not political party. I said, no, I don't want to go to the Young Republicans. But there was no harm done in those days.
At the time, President Obama, this was very early in what then was his first term. And it's funny when you look back, it almost seems anachronistic how simpler perhaps things were.
Well, they weren't as vile as they are today.
Like what you're hearing? Share the love and leave a review. According to the internet, we're told reviews are the most effective way to help suggest our podcast to other listeners. Oh, and please share this episode with your friends, family, or that special person in your life. They'll thank you for it, and we will be forever in your debt. Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City. Catch new episodes each month on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and everywhere pods are cast. Do you have any sort of memories of the time of I guess maybe locally in 08, 09, what that was like? Obviously, you were party chairman during his historic election. Is there anything, broader context that you could share?
Oh, that was a very historic election. The first black man elected president. I mean, quite honestly, I didn't know that I'd ever live to see that happen. And I did. I was a strong backer in 2008. I was a strong backer of Hillary Clinton in the presidential primaries. But that wasn't meant to be. Barack Obama did. He just superseded her, and people didn't take her seriously. I think she was probably, if you ever had to go through or did go through the candidates for president of either party, which one was best prepared for the job on a resume, it had to be Hillary Clinton, far better than her husband was prepared for it. But she had a stint as Secretary of State, and when she later ran for president, she was a senator from a major state, and a first lady of importance, like similar to Eleanor Roosevelt. Sure. Hillary, to this day, I'm a great admirer.
Yeah, she definitely has her place in sort of the American political pantheon, without a doubt.
And she's so genuine when you meet her. Nothing phony about her. I mean, she came to Rensselaer County one time when I was county chairman, and she did an event. We did it out in Averill Park, and she spoke. And her advance people came and told us, no book autographs, no staying later. When it's over, we leave. When she finishes speaking, I said, okay, fine. So she stayed at her own doing. She signed every book and spoke to every person who wanted to shake her hand and have a picture taken with her. At her doing. She just wiped off the the advancement of the security detail, actually. And she's a very genuine person, nice person.
And she certainly wasn't a stranger to upstate New York and the city of Troy. I definitely remember seeing photos of then Mayor Mark Pattison and with Laura Amos, his wife, and I forget where they were, but I was like, where? I just stumbled upon this photo. I was like, wow, they were just at some bar somewhere. They're at some event and they were just together. It's just this very candid photo of them sitting.
Yeah, she was a senator. She'd come to visit Troy now and then, and she was also a celebrity. When she announced, Charlie Rangel's the one who recruited her to come to New York, relocate to New York to run for the Senate. That was quiet, but he's the one who did it. And once she got here, Rudy Giuliani was going to be the Republican nominee. And shortly after her candidacy was announced, he bowed out. And he used a medical excuse as his reason. But he never would have beaten her. She was just a celebrity star, the first lady coming in to represent New York. And she was a great senator.
Without a doubt. Tom, is there anything else when you're sort of thinking back on the president's visit to Hudson Valley, that you think you want to share, anything that jumps out at you?
Barack Obama was a star at that point. The first year in his presidency. He was like a Cinderella. Everybody wanted to see him. They wanted to touch him. It was, and he's very charming. He's very persuasive, as you probably saw when he spoke at the Democratic National Convention last month. He still got it. He can motivate a crowd. So that's my memory.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you doing this.
It was not an accident, not a gift that America led the 20th century. It was the result of hard work and discipline and sacrifice and ambition that served a common purpose. So it must be in the 21st century. Future success is no guarantee. As Americans, we always have to remember that our leadership is not an inheritance, it is a responsibility. So from biotechnology to nanotechnology, from the development of new forms of energy to research into treatments of ancient diseases, there is so much potential to change our world and improve our lives, while creating countless jobs all across America. The question is if we are ready to embrace that potential, if we're ready to lead the way once more. I think we're ready. I've seen it all across America. This generation of young people sitting here, they have an unparalleled opportunity. We are called upon to help them seize that opportunity. That's what you're doing here at Hudson Valley Community College. That's what I intend to make sure that we do in Washington. That's what we will do as a nation. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
While the White House video ends immediately after the president's speech concludes, C-SPAN's coverage actually continued as the president left the stage and began working the rope line. I'll try and provide some live commentary that coincides with the C-SPAN video. I've linked to it in the show notes. I'll be starting right around the 32-minute, 13-second mark of the C-SPAN video. So the president's waving to the crowd, and he begins to walk off stage right. He's smiling and waving. And he heads over to a group of Hudson Valley Community College students, shaking hands. There's a lot of flash bulbs going off, a lot of smiling faces. One woman actually picks up a digital camera and takes a picture of him right there, which is kind of funny. We talked about this during the interview with Tom. How many people were using digital cameras at the time? Because the iPhone was still relatively new. You don't see a tremendous amount of cell phone pictures being taken. He actually moves away from the group of students and then actually heads back to take a group photo. And so everyone's sort of posing, snapping away here. He's saying thank you. And then the president sort of moves over to the crowd. He starts shaking hands. He's shaking people's hands. You can actually see Rodney Wiltshire in the background in one of these shots. Ran multiple times for mayor unsuccessfully. He also, I think, shakes the hand of a friend of mine, Virginia Curtis, who is sort of partially visible at one point behind the president during this video. So Obama's just generally shaking hands, saying thank you to people. Jill Biden passes in the background as well. He's moving pretty quickly down the rope line, not spending a tremendous amount of time with each person. He actually is just passing Dan McCoy. I think then he was the Albany County Democratic Committee chairman, who also tries to take a picture with him using a digital camera, but he moves past him so quickly. I don't really know if he actually got the photo that he was looking for. Again, Obama is moving really quickly down the rope line. He's not spending more than 2 or 3 seconds with each person, and that's being very, very generous. Again, more cameras. There's actually somebody filming with a camcorder in this shot. I don't know who he's talking to in this particular moment, but someone has a camcorder is filming. There were a lot of people who were there that day. Actually, in the background is Pete Souza, the now well-known presidential photographer. Took photos of President Reagan and was also very notable for being President Obama's photographer for, I believe, all 8 years. Coming up on some of the Breslins there, County Executive Breslin, Mike Breslin, working his way down the rope line. Looks like he's speaking with Kathy Jimino, Rensselaer County Executive. State Senator Roy McDonald was there. I'm seeing current State Senator Neil Breslin. There's just so many people here. He's actually moving really, really quickly. Jack McEnany, some other folks. Interestingly enough, he stops and pauses and has a conversation with my old boss, Assemblyman Bob Riley. He very quickly offers him to sign something, and he pauses and actually takes out his own pen and signs it. So that was kind of interesting. He's coming to the end of the rope line. You can see the American flag in the background. I think you see then Congressman Scott Murphy there. And then you can see the back of my head. We do a really quick handshake. I think I said something to the effect of, "Thank you for coming, Mr. President." He said, "No, thank you." And then I believe he shook another friend of mine, Dan Curtis's hand, who appeared next to me mere seconds before the president arrived in front of us, and we kind of looked at each other, and and as you can see, the video's now ended. Now it kind of panned back and showed the room, and the C-SPAN broadcast ends with sort of, reminding viewers that the president is now leaving to go to New York City to participate in some meetings at the UN. So that was something I had completely forgotten about as well until I had gone back and revisited the C-SPAN video. But yeah, it was pretty incredible to meet a sitting president of the United States, regardless of political party or affiliation. It was also a really, what's the word I'm looking for here? It was also really a significant moment in my life. I was still in my mid-20s. I think I was 24 at the time, and I was really involved in local politics, and it was just incredible to have the opportunity to meet a sitting president. And how it all came about was through Dan Curtis. Dan Curtis had a friend on the advance team for the White House, and somehow they had reached out. They had needed some volunteers, and we quickly got a group together. Dan Curtis, it was Virginia Curtis, no relation. It was Matt Peter, and it was myself and Rodney Wiltshire, who was at the time, ironically, the head of the Rensselaer County Young Democrats. It came together really, really fast. We actually went to Hudson Valley the day before the event. We had to participate in a sort of training/orientation where the White House advance team sort of walked us through what the event was going to look like, what expectations were going to be, what sort of our roles were going to be for that day. And then we did a walkthrough of the automotive garage space. And We had a chance to walk around a little bit, take some pictures. I actually have a great photo of myself behind the presidential podium with sort of like the tech backdrop. There were some solar panels and some other things behind where the podium was. So that was really cool. During the event itself, our original assignments were sort of as ushers for VIPs. So we were there to keep an eye out for certain people on a specific list. Sometimes it was elected, sometimes it was, party folks, whatever. And then we were to walk them to a specific section of the seating area. At some point fairly early in the event, a White House staff person grabbed me and brought me to the area behind the VIP section. And I'm paraphrasing here, but they essentially said to me, "Stand here, don't let anyone pass this point, because if they do, Secret Service will grab them." So I just stood there for a really long time. Directly in front of me was sort of all of the local and state electeds, specifically Mike McNulty, former Congressman McNulty, but also State Senator Roy McDonald, who actually had a very nice conversation with for a bit of time, because the event, we were all sort of put either standing in where we were supposed to be standing, or people were in their seats just waiting for Air Force One to arrive to land, and then for the president to travel from the airport over to Troy to the campus. Yeah, we just got some incredible photos, and it was really such a memorable event for me in so many different ways. I've really just been very fortunate in many times in my life to be in the right place at the right time, and this was one of them. And it just was great. It's something that I will always remember, and from a very specific time and place in Troy history, in presidential history, in American history, and frankly, just my personal story, my personal history. So, a great day. For anyone listening that's looking for a little bit more flavor of the day, if you want to see the video, either the White House produced version of the speech or the C-SPAN live broadcast archive, I have dropped all of those in the show notes. There's also some links to news articles that were covering the president's visit leading up to the visit, the day of, and a little bit of the aftermath, as well as some galleries of images and photos that were taken of the event. A big thank you to Tom Wade for being a part of the podcast and helping take us back to the big day at Hudson Valley 15 years ago. For our next episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We're marking the 46th anniversary of Bruce Springsteen's 1978 concert at the RPI Fieldhouse in Troy, New York, told by journalist, writer, and former Freer Park neighborhood resident Joyce Bassett, who at 16 years old saw the boss just 1 mile from her home. It was a concert that would lead to a lifelong love of Springsteen.
The person we saw on stage looked like he was having the time of his life. I mean, and I remember thinking about, like, he was almost like an athlete, because he just never stopped. He just kept going and going and going and put everything into it. And it was just, I remember when he took the break, he would play like half a show, take a 20-minute break, and then do another half. And we all looked at ourselves and go, that was half? It was really amazing.
Until next time, love yourself, love one another, and may Pod save Troy. Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, is hosted, written, edited, and produced by me, John Salka. Our theme music is by Stephen J. Goldman at Four Legs Records. Like what you heard? Please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City. This is incredibly helpful for getting others to find our show. Want to know more? Visit TroyStoryPod.com to see upcoming episodes, guests, and bonus content. Thanks for listening. The views or opinions expressed by guests are their own and not of the host or Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City.